Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into the dark and dangerous world of organized crime. We're going deep on the five families of New York City. These aren't just gangs, these are institutions, with histories as long and bloody as any war. We're going to look at their origins, their most notorious figures, and the crimes that cemented their reputations. Buckle up, folks, because we're about to explore the underbelly of American history, where loyalty is tested, betrayal is a constant threat, and power comes at a very steep price. First up, we've got the Gambinos. Now, this family, they were like the goddamn Yankees of the Mafia. They were at the top of their game for decades, pulling the strings in everything from construction and trucking to gambling and drugs, and man, they were ruthless. The family's roots go back to the early 1900s, but they really hit their stride under the leadership of Carlo Gambino. Talk about a stone-cold gangster. He took over the family in the late 1950s and ran it for over 20 years, building an empire on blood and money. But the Gambinos really exploded into the public consciousness under Paul Castellano, aka Big Paul. This guy was living large, a multi-millionaire with a mansion on Staten Island that looked like it belonged to a kingpin in a Scorsese movie. And then there was John Gotti, the Teflon Don. This guy was a media darling, always impeccably dressed with a swagger that could melt asphalt. Gotti was a different breed of mob boss, one who embraced the spotlight. He was charismatic, he was ruthless, and for a while it seemed like he could do no wrong. The feds tried to nail him time and time again, but the charges just wouldn't stick. But you know what they say, all good things must come to an end. Gotti's luck finally ran out in the early 90s when his underboss, Sammy the Bull Gravano, turned state's evidence. Gravano's testimony sent shockwaves through the underworld and landed Gotti a life sentence. The Gambinos, though, they're like cockroaches after a nuclear apocalypse. They're survivors. Now, if the Gambinos were the flashy celebrities of the Mafia, the Genovese family were the silent assassins. These guys were all about keeping a low profile, operating in the shadows, and pulling the strings from behind the scenes. The family's roots trace back to the early 20th century, with Charles Lucky Luciano as one of their original architects. This guy was a visionary, a criminal mastermind who understood the power of organization and discipline. He helped to establish the five families structure that still governs the New York Mafia today. But the Genovese family really came into their own under the leadership of Vito Genovese. This guy was cold-blooded, ambitious, and utterly ruthless. He solidified the family's grip on unions, particularly in the construction and trucking industries, which gave them incredible power and influence. Think about it, they controlled the flow of goods and services in and out of New York City. They infiltrated legitimate businesses, they extorted money from anyone they could, and they enforced their will through violence and intimidation. One of their most notorious schemes involved the French Connection, a heroin trafficking operation that flooded the streets of America with drugs. The Genovese family controlled the docks, so they were in the perfect position to move massive quantities of heroin into the country. The Genovese family was also infamous for its internal discipline and its use of murder as a tool to maintain control. Despite their low profile, the Genovese family has been rocked by informants and internal strife over the years. But they've always managed to weather the storm. They're a testament to the enduring power of organized crime and the seductive allure of power and wealth. The Bonanno family, they were like the wild card of the five families. They had their moments of absolute dominance, but they were also plagued by internal conflicts, betrayals, and, get this, a boss who flipped and became an FBI informant. The family's roots go back to the early 20th century, with Sicilian immigrant Philip Bonanno as their patriarch. They controlled a lot of territory in Brooklyn, and were known for their involvement in traditional rackets like gambling, loan sharking, and extortion. They also had a hand in the garment industry, which gave them a lot of influence in the fashion capital of the world, New York City. But things got really interesting, or should I say crazy, under the leadership of Joseph Bonanno. This guy was old school, a staunch traditionalist who believed in upholding the old ways of the Sicilian Mafia. He ran the family with an iron fist and was known for his intelligence and ruthlessness. However, Joseph Bonanno's reign was marked by conflict, both within the Bonanno family and with the other families. He was a major player in what became known as the Bonanno Wars, a series of violent power struggles that erupted in the 1960s. And then there's the story of Joe Massino, the last Don. Massino was a throwback to the old school bosses, a guy who valued secrecy and discipline. But what makes Massino's story so wild is that he became the first official boss of a New York Mafia family to turn state's evidence. Massino's cooperation sent shockwaves through the underworld and led to the convictions of numerous mobsters, including his own brother-in-law, Salvatore Vitale. The Bonanno family's story is a testament to the fact that even in the world of organized crime, loyalty is a fickle thing. Now the Lucchese family, they were the strong, silent type. They didn't crave the spotlight like the Gambinos, or make headlines with internal squabbles like the Bonannos. They were all about making money, and they did it ruthlessly and effectively, often operating under the radar of law enforcement and the public. The Lucchese family's roots go back to the early 20th century, with Gaetano Reina as their first official boss. They consolidated their power in East Harlem and the Bronx, controlling various rackets like gambling, loan sharking, and extortion. But it was under the leadership of Tommy Lucchese that the family really hit their stride. Lucchese was a master manipulator, a guy who understood the importance of alliances and political connections. He forged close ties with corrupt politicians, judges, and law enforcement officials, which gave the family a tremendous amount of protection and influence. One of the key things that set the Lucchese family apart was their involvement in the Commission, a governing council formed by the five families to maintain order and prevent all-out war. The Commission was like the Mafia's own version of the United Nations, and Tommy Lucchese was a key architect and power broker within this shadowy organization. The Lucchese family's influence extended to various industries including construction, trucking, and the garment industry. They infiltrated unions, extorted businesses, and used their power to control markets and line their pockets. They were also heavily involved in drug trafficking, particularly heroin, which flooded the streets of America and generated enormous profits for the family. Despite their low profile, the Lucchese family has had their share of internal conflicts and government investigations. They've been infiltrated by informants, and several high-ranking members have turned state's evidence over the years. The Lucchese family's story is a reminder that organized crime is often a hidden hand, influencing our lives in ways we may not even realize. The Colombo family, they were like the youngest brother trying to prove themselves in a family of giants. They were the last of the five families to be established, and they had to fight tooth and nail for every scrap of territory and every dollar they made. They were ambitious, they were hungry, and they weren't afraid to throw their weight around. The family's origins can be traced back to the Prohibition era, with Joe Profaci as their founding father. Profaci was a tough, old-school mobster who built his empire on bootlegging, gambling, and extortion. He ran the family with an iron fist, but his reign was marked by internal strife and violence. And then came Joe Colombo, a charismatic and ambitious gangster who saw an opportunity to shake things up. He challenged Profaci's leadership, which ignited a bloody internal war that became known as the First Colombo War. This war was a brutal affair, with shootings, bombings, and bodies piling up in the streets. Colombo eventually emerged victorious, but his reign was short-lived. He was shot and paralyzed at a rally in 1971, an event that plunged the family into another bloody internal conflict, the Second Colombo War. Despite the internal conflicts and the constant pressure from law enforcement, the Colombo family has managed to survive. So there you have it, folks, a glimpse into the dark and dangerous world of the five families. These organizations have left an undeniable mark on American history, shaping the landscape of organized crime for over a century. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more true crime stories. We're constantly exploring new cases and delving into the minds of criminals, trying to understand what drives them to commit their crimes. Check out the link in the description for more details on these ruthless mafia families. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, the truth is often stranger than fiction.